Hi, this is Vivian Vande Velde. Welcome to my reading of Ghost of a Hanged Man. Today we are on chapter 10 of 15, and this is called Another Dark Night and a Darker Morning. I had trouble going to sleep that night, what with thinking about Mr. Chetwynd dying and trying to convince myself that a lot of people had died throughout the history of the world with no help at all from Jake Barnett, and worrying about Xandra's foolish fortune-telling cards and wishing someone had tied and gagged Elijah Quinn before he'd gotten around to telling my sister and she'd gotten around to telling me that ghosts are strongest at night. There were certain things I just couldn't get out of my head. The way Jake had turned around at his trial, looked Pa dead in the eye, and said, "And you?" The way Xandra's Day of Judgment card, with its coffins coming out of the water, looked just like what I had seen not 15 minutes earlier at our own cemetery. The way I'd been so sure last night that someone had been watching me from my window. It's hard to say what was remembering and what was dreaming. I'm not sure if I dozed at all, but I know I was awake when I realized I wasn't just remembering what last night had felt like. I was feeling it again. Dunce, I whispered it out loud for scaring myself silly. But it was like sitting in school and realizing you have an itch and you don't dare scratch because Miss Hawks is right in the middle of yelling at everyone for all their fidgeting and foolishness, and the more you try not to think about it, the more it itches. I told myself there was no reason to look out that window, but I just couldn't convince myself. So I turned my head real slowly and saw a dark shadow looming right on the other side of the glass. I was too scared to even call out for help. It's just a shadow from a tree, I thought. Except, of course, there are no trees on that side of the house. I forced myself to get out of bed to approach the window. As I moved, the shadow broke up and disappeared, so that by the time I got there wasn't anything to see. Just something about the angle of the window glass, I told myself, and the way I turned my head, and the fact that I was half asleep, and the fact that I'd gone to bed with scary thoughts. I got back into bed, but I didn't lie down. I pulled the blankets up around me and sat facing the window until somehow, despite my best intentions, I fell asleep. The following morning, I staggered groggily into the kitchen as Pa was making coffee. He took one look at me and didn't bother with good morning. At least Annabel looked well rested and cheerful. "No more nightmares?" I asked. She shook her head. "Mamma kept them away." I figured Annabel's confidence had more to do with it than Mamma did. "So," I said to Pa, suddenly moving the conversation in the direction I wanted, "I understand Judge Wade was scheduled to come to town yesterday." "Yes, and he arrived safe and sound." Pa looked up at me over the edge of his cup. "Interested in the law profession all of a sudden, Ben?" he asked. I squirmed under his knowing gaze. "I heard some people talking yesterday, and they were trying to remember if Judge Wade has any family." "People with time on their hands will talk about anything." Pa shook his head. "Like that the Tinker women caused a river to flood." Seeing how put out he sounded, I didn't ask him if he thought there could be any truth to that. Not that anybody had caused it to happen, but whether he guessed some people, could tell what was going to happen before it did. Pa got back to the question I'd started with. "Judge Wade is a lifelong bachelor," he said, "and in case you're interested in his opinion as well as his marital status, he thinks this worry is a lot of superstitious nonsense." "Are you sure?" "Judge Wade came from Boston, and he'd gone to school at Harvard. I figured someone with that much education probably knew what he was talking about, and that made me feel better." Pa nodded. "Samuel Quinn just happened to drop by the office yesterday about 3 seconds after the judge arrived." "And?" Annabel prompted him. "Ask Samuel's little brother Elijah. The judge laughed him out of the office," which was even more encouraging. Until Emmett Sanders came knocking at our door again. Even Pa looked a bit troubled as he went to let Emmett in for the second early morning call in 2 days. You better come to the hotel, I heard Emmett say to him. It looks like sometime during the night Judge Wade fell down the stairs and broke his neck. I'm hoping that you're enjoying Ghost of a Hanged Man, and I look forward to reading another chapter to you tomorrow. Meanwhile, stay safe and be kind.